The following video is a legitimate review over a newly released movie and is given chance upon seeing released movie to give genuine thoughts and opinions on the content that has been released in theaters. Note the following content in the video is owned by DC and Warner Brothers. I do not own the rights to the content. Additionally, the following is review based and falls under Fair Use Section 107 of U.S. law. Thank you. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Justin Winabout here, the Thrash Metal Guru. Welcome to my very first movie review. And being that this is my very first and this is going to be on a DC, I thought I'd actually dress up for the occasion. Nightwing, one of my favorite DC heroes. But we're not actually looking at a DC hero movie, we're actually looking at a DC villain story, which is more, kind of more like anti-heroes, as you may say. So the newly released movie of Suicide Squad is now out. It was out yesterday. I went to go see it last night with a friend, and I gotta tell you, in my own opinion, it kicked so much ass. Now, before I get into this little bit of a review, I just wanted to go over something real quick. That before the release dates, a lot of people had made, they actually accounted for a note that reviewers or critics were looking into the movie that was released in other areas earlier than here out in Las Vegas. And surprisingly that these reviews were pretty low, like 30%. Now, first of all, to take it into account for the whole Rotten Tomatoes thing, I'm just going to advise to people, for those who haven't seen it yet, even though it's already released, don't give in to the Rotten Tomatoes stuff. Don't take people's words for it just because they say it's an awful movie or whatnot. Go see the movie for yourself, because here's the things I'm going to say about this, is that don't take everything that you see with that. Seriously, I would just take it with a grain of salt and use an open mind to see for yourself of how that movie is. So, Suicide Squad, I went to go see it and I thought it was kick-ass. So, I went in with an open mind, and my expectations are usually mid, somewhere in the middle and a little bit kind of down below, but when this movie came in, I was ecstatic, because I was okay with the Man of Steel. I mean, the Batman vs. Superman movie could have done a whole lot better, but it was okay. But, Man of Steel was pretty good, and, they're working on more DC films. But this right here, I think this one, the newly made in this universe, tops them all. Seriously, it does. And I have to tell you is that between all of this, from my own perspective, this is my review over it, is that it pretty much tops them all. Pretty much. Controversially enough, with Man of Steel, it was a mixture. DC was more like a head-scratcher, but it was pretty good for, some of the things that had about it, a few things that were wrong with it, but with DC's newly released Suicide Squad, it was practically right there. That is the way to make a fucking a DC movie. And without Zack Snyder directing it, look how good it turned out. I mean, if you're going to make a movie with a DC universe, put at least Zack Snyder with the executive producers at least, and have someone else direct it. That is how you do it. So, we're going to skip along into the part of what I think about this, but before I do, the thing real quick about the Rotten Tomatoes and the critics. Like I said before, do not take it seriously. And for the whole petition thing about DC fanboys wanting to take it down, now, I get to an extent that it's not really a genuine thing. It's basically a multitude of reviews from other critics and reviewers putting it together, and that's how the score is, but you don't really want to take their word for it. The thing about it is, if you go see it for yourself, I'm going to tell you right now that if you go see it, the majority of people that I encourage to go see this will really be satisfied. I'm not going to say everyone's going to like it, but I'm going to say for the majority part of how it's doing so well and how it's already accumulating upon a lot of money from other past franchise movies, it's pretty much up there. And a lot of people are going to say it's kind of going to drop down in 2 weeks, but, we'll have to wait and see. Other than that, this is actually how you make a good DC story. So anyways, I'm just going to get you into my review of what I feel about the characters, the story, the setting, and kind of how the plot is without kind of spoiling the whole movie. So let's continue. So the first thing I'm going to delve into is more of the story. Now I'm going to try to do this without revealing too much spoilers, but there is some things in the story that do fascinate and amaze me. We're going to actually go off pros and cons for every single part of the subject, from story, characters, plot, and, kind of how the action sequences to begin. So the first thing I wanted to do is start out with how the story was. And with this, I can't find a whole lot of cons for every single part. I mean, there is a little bit of a few cons with the whole story, characters, plot, and maybe a bit of the action. But still, I mean, this movie has actually given me everything to be excited for. It actually helped me be, it actually helps relate with the characters, and all that. So we're going to start with the story, and basically, for some of you who may or may not already know, Suicide Squad is basically a team that's also assembled by Amanda Waller, who is given who is actually tasked or charged the Suicide Squad, Deadshot, and I'll get into the characters in a minute here, that's basically formed a group of villains to do something good, as opposed to the bad ways that they've been before. And so they're kind of given this chance. Now, if you've read the comics, you obviously know that Suicide Squad is basically a group of characters that actually have a bomb implanted in them. So if they try to escape or disobey orders, the bomb goes off, it kills them. And so that's not really a spoiler. That's something that you would actually see in the comics as well. And so that's one of the main points within the story, is that basically a group of villains that are actually trying to do good, as opposed to the request that they made. You see that in the comic too, so that's not really a spoiler, but it's basically showing you how it turns out to be. And the story, it goes pretty well. It sticks together, and it goes on. It doesn't really lose focus of what it goes on. It practically stays on track. It actually gives it gives a balance of a background of some of the characters, like Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and it basically goes off, and it shows so much reflection, and it shows off so much action to it. I mean, that is part of the story that I'm saying. So those are good pros of the entire thing. And the story itself, it actually has some good deep meaning behind it, but besides the fact that it's actually a group full of villains, you actually see some good behind the characters. You see kind of the background story of how it is, how they came to be. And they don't really focus too much on that. They actually keep it well balanced out. Those are good pros that I see within the movie. There is a tad bit of a con to that, is that they could have at least added a little bit more to it, but other than that, I don't really have anything to complain about on that. That's just one tiny part. But they actually managed to put the story so well together. They actually put so much great things into it. They put good conflictions in there. They actually put some good surprising scenes. What was the other one that I was going to go off? They actually put together so much of how it kind of turns out. They kind of set you in the mood for it. It kind of feels like you're actually there. That's how exciting it is. So that's actually the good part that I wanted to do for the story. And now we're going to be on the characters now. So this is the part where I'm going to show a little bit of footage from my top 3 characters that I absolutely loved in this movie. Don't get me wrong, I actually had a few other characters that I did enjoy, like Rick Flag. I also enjoyed Captain Boomerang. I didn't get to see much of Slipknot, per se. What was the other one? Even El Diablo was pretty cool. I mean, to me, he was pretty chill. That was the kind of thing that I saw from El Diablo within the Suicide Squad. But the top 3 that definitely got my interest was Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Enchantress. So this is the part where you're going to be seeing footage for that. And I wanted to really start off mainly with Harley Quinn. And I gotta say, she pulls it off very good. She actually has her own version of her own dialogue as Harley Quinn. She was able to throw in a few funny jokes, and actually more than a few funny jokes in there. Not only acting like a kick-ass psychopathic girlfriend of the Joker, but she also pulls off that sexy, stunning thing about her, which makes her so attractive to the audience. And I really don't care of what feminists or what people online post about, oh, she's being used as sexual. She looks sexy regardless, okay? I think a lot of people, including female fans, idolize the fact that Harley Quinn is, in fact, one of the sexiest characters in the DC universe. But the way she pulls off so much badassery and sexiness at the same time is also why I like her so much. She can kick ass and still look sexy while she does it. And not to mention, she's got great dialogue too, and that's what makes me drawn so much to her. And the same thing with that character is it's so cool to see her do so much. And she actually establishes a great friendship with Deadshot. Now, it's not much shown with all of that, but it's kind of joined together. These characters have chemistry together, every single one of them. So the next one I wanted to do is Enchantress, and I gotta say, apart from that, sexy as hell, I will tell you that. She also looks creepy, she also looks, like, she's look creepy, stunning, sexy, sinister, and she could pull off so much, and I have to say, basically to me, Enchantress is just one that I just feel so attracted to, despite the fact she looks very gloomy and all that. She looks very creepy, but she's able to teleport to other places, receive anything that she can actually get on. But she's controlled, by the way, in that sense of the movie. But she was able to set the tone for me in the sense that this is how suspense and this is how the action is, and basically, without Enchantress, I don't think that would have been anything at all without Enchantress, in my opinion, though. I like I said, I love the movie, and every single actor was pretty good, which also brings me to Deadshot. But before I do that, I gotta say that Enchantress really pulled off the good look. Also played by Kara. Okay, it was her name, Kara, who also played Dr. Moon and also the character of Enchantress. She manages to pull off both personalities pretty well as the character. And I have to say, she also helps carry the movie along to that. She helps set that setting and the tone as one of the main characters. So the next one that brings me to is Deadshot. He's also one of the main characters of that movie, and I gotta say, Will Smith does a pretty good job as his character. Playing as a hitman who kills people for money, that's basically one of the central parts of Deadshot. And basically, as Deadshot is that practically, obviously, apart from everyone else, is a villain. But he acts so much kind of a little bit close to a superhero, and yet in an anti-hero-ish way. But, apart from that him, Harley Quinn, and all these other characters, they actually share feelings with each other. You think Batman versus Superman was some sort of chemistry related? These characters have chemistry together, and Deadshot, oh my gosh, has pulled it off in a good way. Will Smith does a superb job as Deadshot. I don't think there's anyone who can top that, in my opinion. And, apart from that, that's something that amazes me about Deadshot. He's kick-ass, but yet he can be a little bit he has an emotional side to, his family. You see that in the trailer too, so that's not really a spoiler. He actually has a daughter that he actually has so much love for, and, apart from him, he does so much to do everything for his daughter. But in the sense that, he has a bad side to him, but you kind of see a good side to him within that movie as well. And that's what I love so much about Deadshot. Now, I would get to every single character if I could. Unfortunately, though, the time in this is pretty limited, so I do have time for one. But before I get to that one, I will say that amazing performances from the characters such as Boomerang, Katana. Katana was another one that I wanted to mention, but unfortunately, like I said, don't have enough time to do so. Amanda Waller, and what was another one, too, as well, that I also... Yeah, Rick Flag. Rick Flag was another one I thought he did. Rick Flag was a majorly interesting character, but that's not the one. So I've got a lot of the pros. Now, here's the con one. It's not really, like, a full con. It's half and half. Now, this character that I wanted to actually talk about just for a moment is the Joker. I'm not discrediting Jared Leto. I actually thought he did a pretty decent job playing the Joker. The only problem is, and I know some people are going to bash me for this, is that I don't think this Joker looks convincing. With the tattoos, the grill, kind of looking like a wannabe, a wankster, in that sort of way, like a white boy wankster version of the Joker. However, though, apart from that, that's pretty much the only con that I have about, in the sense of characters, is in fact the Joker. In that sense, is that, but despite that being a con, Jared Leto did do a pretty decent job with the Joker. In my opinion, though, it doesn't top Jack Nicholson's version, it doesn't top Mark Hamill's version from the animated series, and it doesn't top the Heath Ledger version, but I will say that Jared Leto did pull off a good kind of personality to Jared Leto. Excuse me when I keep confusing Jared Leto with the character. Jared Leto did a pretty decent job with the personality of the Joker. I think he managed to put it very well. He actually put it along very well, despite some of the rumors from articles, which don't believe all of those, by the way. Speaking of which, I think this is another con that I also need to point out, which I didn't quite focus on, but now it's come to my attention, is that The Joker wasn't really much in this movie as much as I thought he would be, and as from what I've actually heard about is that some of his scenes were cut out from the movie. I do recognize this because there were a few scenes that I saw in the trailer that were not in the movie, which it's probably going to be either a deleted scene or it's going to be some sort of outtake that they had, possibly even bloopers as well. But there were a few scenes that I saw in the trailer that never showed up in the movie at all. So that's probably the only two cons that I really had about the Joker, is that most of his screen time wasn't really as much as I thought, and quite the appearance. But other than that, it's nothing against Jared Leto. He actually did a pretty decent job with the character. So that's the section that I have for the characters right here. Now we're actually going to move on to the two parts like I'm going to put together right before I put my verdict in both ways for this movie. So basically the plot, obviously, is that, from what I said again, a group of villains are brought together to carry out a task while having a bomb implanted inside of them to save the world from complete annihilation, and upon doing so they would actually receive a lighter sentence or something in reward in returning for that. And if they actually dared escaping or daring to kill or disobeying orders, obviously the bomb goes off. Now, in the sense of the plot is actually pretty good. It sticks together, it focuses, it doesn't lose the trace of where it's supposed to be. It focuses on and actually captures everything that it's supposed to do. It focuses a little bit more. You know, it kind of, like I said, the setting is quite there. The way that the story is handled, it shows that the connections and the characters are really focused on what's going on with the story. And they haven't lost sight of what they're doing. They actually focus through with the story. And not to mention, they pull off stuff while being funny, while being, smart-mouthish with each other. Like I said, the comedic way, it's good. There is a scene in there which I really don't want to. It doesn't really come up as a spoiler as much as I think it would be. Fuck it, I'll just go. This is a spoiler warning I will put right here because I cannot let this go. I'm sorry. But there is a scene in the bar, like it shows in the trailer, is that all of these characters they're really opening up. They actually have sides and feelings. Harley Quinn is showing feelings up about what happens and reactions to people. They actually focus on it. And this is what makes the plot of it so interesting, is because the characters are able to connect and sort of there's sort of a way to relate to each other about how they are, of what they want or how they are, and what they want out of life and how they're treated. Basically, it's basically a mutual kind of viewpoint that every one of these characters, as villains or anti-heroes, as you may say, share. That they're both looked upon down as society as filth, garbage, scum, outcasts, people that don't belong in that society. They kind of see themselves in that viewpoint. And what you see out of that, you kind of see so much confliction, and you see so much that you don't really quite expect, but you come to relate into the part of the story. And that's what makes the plot so interesting, is because not only do you see the action, the suspense from it, and how some of the things correlate up, but you kind of see so much connection from the characters, and that's what's so cool. And that's what brings me to the action scenes, is that it's so kick-ass and it's adrenaline-filled. I mean, you had all these creepy, zombified, mutated characters come out, and you see Harley Quinn kicking so much ass with a baseball bat and looping around all of them. I think she snapped one of their necks, or actually hit one of them with a baseball bat. You see that in the trailer, obviously. Captain Boomerang, obviously, he's hopped up on the energy drinks, throwing boomerangs, kicking so much ass, using his fists, per se. And I gotta say, that's a lot of training that you see. Katana, obviously kick-ass with the sword. Oh my gosh. I mean, I would love to see more of a Katana, and please bring out a Katana movie. Another one I could say, Deadshot, kick-ass with a gun, especially when he has his masks on. Killer Croc, oh my gosh, I could have sworn, like what I saw in one of the trailers, I thought he suplexed one of them before, but he's very good at grabbing enemies and throwing them against walls and on the ground and all that such. But yeah, it's so cool. The action itself is so... I mean, the one thing I did forget to mention is some of the lines do seem a little cheesy, but it still works with it. It kind of makes you forget about it because of how cool so much of the things are. And not to get too off track with this, but when I saw some of the effects, and I think some of it was a little bit CGI, but one of the effects that you see, it comes out of the sky. You see that in the trailer as well, is that it's also on the tower. Most of these, a lot of stories like that, you'll see something like that. But the one thing I want to say on that kind of gets a little bit off correlation is that Ghostbusters needs to be taking notes from Suicide Squad, because that's how you pull off a paranormal and supernatural thing of doing it. They actually found a way to do that. So Ghostbusters needs to be taking notes. The very new one needs to be taking notes off of that. Not that Eddie Murphy neon shit. I'm sorry, but that's in my opinion to say as well. But wow, that is the way you can do a Ghostbusters, by taking notes off of Suicide Squad and just saying downright, Suicide Squad pulls it off. So I'm going to put this to my final verdict. So with this movie, there were only a little bit of cons in this. Now, of course, it could be a little bit more better by throwing a little bit more of an interesting background with some more of the characters. And it also shows that you can put a little bit more to it. But it was an awesome movie. So if I had to say I had to give this in a star rating of between 1 to 5, I give this a 4 out of 5. And so now in the ratings of 1 to 10, I give this an 8 out of 10. Of course, a bit of it could be better, but in the sense the movie is kick-ass. It's so enjoyable. You can enjoy so much of the action scenes, so many of the hysterical scenes of jokes and smart mouthing, and so much of the confliction. It all works together. So that is my verdict. 4 out of 5 stars, and indeed a 8 out of 10. So this is Jasper Noble, the Thrash Metal Guru. This is my very first movie review of Suicide Squad. I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Catch you later.